up, YouTube?
What's up, y'all? Oh, my fault.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Okay, run it back. Hey, what's up, YouTube?
What's up, y'all?
Welcome back to my channel. We're super excited to bring you guys a whole new video all about bad marriage advice that we've gotten.
We back.
What? Bad marriage advice. So, if you're interested in learning more, just keep watching. All right, guys. Are you excited to get into this bad marriage advice?
Let's do it.
We're ready. And funny enough, actually, this first bad marriage advice was just given to Reggie like literally like last week. So okay, so the first one is your wife is always right.
That is such a common one. Yeah, we hear that one all
the time. So what do you, I mean, what's your view on that?
So my thoughts on that is, first of all, that's very common advice, and for me, I think it's bad advice. Jasmine and I were having a conversation about it the other day, and I just feel like the whole your wife is always right. I understand what people are trying to say. I understand what guys are trying to say and what they're trying to do. But I think it's actually bad advice because it comes back to bite you in a way where it's a cop-out, right? It's a cop-out. It's a way to avoid having to have a discussion and actually communicate to be on the same page with your spouse. If your spouse is not right in a situation, then why would you just take the easy route and be like, okay, you're right, you got it, boom, whatever. Right. And keep it moving. Yeah. Because then we just walk away and we still feel the anger, and then we start feeling resentment because we're like, I know for a fact she wasn't right in that situation. Yeah. But I'm over here still feeling salty, and so then that leads to me isolating, and me probably going to other things and thinking the grass is greener on the other side. So I just think overall it's not good advice at all. Yeah, and you were saying that we were talking about how going that route can lead to like passive aggressiveness, which ultimately, sorry if you hear my dog in the background, but ultimately it leads to a man who is passive. Like when you always hear the woman wears the pants in the relationship. Typically that's due to the fact that a man has become passive in his ways because he's chosen the easier route of just like not ruffling feathers, not trying to hear his wife's mouth. And so then he becomes passive, and therefore you have a lopsidedness in, I guess, the leadership of the relationship. Because, I mean, essentially, biblically speaking, the man is the leader of the household. But I feel like those roles can be reversed and become lopsided when you choose to take the easier road. Yeah, and I think in that situation, I mean, don't let people fool you. Or, you know, sometimes the idea is that the wife wants everything to be done her way. You feel me? But at the same time, like, at the end of the day, your spouse or the woman doesn't want a yes man. She doesn't want someone that's just going to let anybody, I mean, or basically, she doesn't want someone that she'll just be able to run over at any point in time, and that's just going to say yes to whatever. For sure. Like, no, like, there's a way to balance it out to where you can communicate in a healthy way without just being like, yes, 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 you're right, you're right, you're right. Right. And so I feel like coming into this video, when we're talking about the bad marriage advice, we're also going to discuss like how we do things, and how we do things in this scenario is we just properly talk about stuff. We compromise. One is not more right than the other. It's not always going to be my way or the highway. That's just not how we roll. We're a team. We compromise, and I feel like that's what has worked best for our marriage so far. Look, we are not experts because we've only been married for like 7 months. We're still learning, but we're just sharing our experiences. So. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, okay. Next one is make sure you take proper care of your man so he doesn't go looking for it somewhere else. So I feel like this is more targeted towards women, but I have definitely gotten this advice over the years or within the past couple of months, but I feel like that's a lot of pressure on the woman because it insinuates that the woman always has to do stuff right, meaning like cooking and cleaning, and even in the bedroom, like satisfying her man in that way or whatever. And if not, if all the things don't align the way he specifically wants it to, then he's gonna go looking for it somewhere else, which I feel like is extremely toxic thinking.
extremely toxic.
That's another common one too.
It is, because I feel like it's super toxic because it's insinuating that it's a performance-based thing. Like your marriage is based on your performance, and it just simply shouldn't be. Yeah. Like you are in a partnership with this person, you are in a marriage with this person, you are to serve each other, and it's not just, oh, whatever your man wants, that's what he gets. I mean, it's just like what we talked about with, like, the wife is always right. Yeah. It's not whatever the man or the woman wants. It's no, you're a team. You're in a partnership. And so therefore, if there are certain things that you're looking for, or if you feel like certain things are lacking, communicate that. That doesn't give you an avenue to just be like, well, I'm just going to look elsewhere. That's not how this works.
Yeah, I think it's a difference between feeling entitled.
Yes.
And saying, hey, this is what my needs are. And the other person being like, you know what, instead of putting myself first, I'm gonna think about the other person. I think there's a difference, because the whole entitlement thing it's a selfish perspective.
Yeah, it is. I mean, definitely. And I mean, I feel like it's super important to say also that I know I feel like I get really passionate about this topic. Okay, let me just
go ahead. Hey, say what you're saying.
But I know, but I think it's an entitlement thing, and it can be very selfish. Like, I just think that view is very selfish, and at the end of the day, when you have spoken or unspoken expectations of your husband or wife, and you guys are not communicating that, again, that does not give you an open door to be like, well, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. Because especially if you haven't spoken those expectations or what you're thinking, your spouse cannot read your mind. So you're double wrong in that situation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I mean, how we handle that in our relationship is we express our needs lovingly, but honestly.
Yeah.
And then we figure out how it best fits, trial and error, because it's not always going to work, you know, at that moment. For example, let's just say when it comes to the frequency of how many times we're intimate in a week. Like, the thing is, if you feel like you're not getting satisfied by your woman or your man or whatever, you need to openly express, hey, I am not feeling like we're doing this enough. Can we have some more time of intimacy, or can it look a little bit different? Because sometimes we're busy, we're working, sometimes we're tired. So it's not always feasible to be like, we're gonna have sex every night. That's just not realistic, especially as adults. Like, we're realizing that. Yeah. But expressing, okay, this is my love language. How can you fill up my tank? Yada, yada, yada. But anyways, that's a tangent. But I felt like that was definitely one we need to put in there. But how we handle that is, again, just open communication, being loving and honest with each other, and expressing our needs, not being afraid to do that, because I feel like that's the most healthy thing to do. Do you have anything to add to that?
Nah, I mean, that's well said. Good point.
Oh, okay. Let's see, next one. Don't go to bed angry. I feel like some people would be like, what? I feel like I hear that everywhere. That's good advice.
I feel like this one is taken out of context, though, a lot of times.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because it is in the Bible.
It is.
Where it talks about not going to, but I think it's taken out of context.
It is, yeah.
But you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so, okay, not going to bed angry. Reggie and I were talking about this because we heard this one a lot. Like, I'm going to bed angry. But I feel like it's spoken in the context of don't go to bed angry, meaning like, just figure it out, sweep it under the rug, and just move forward, and don't harbor on the things that are happening. And I feel like that's just not realistic, because there are some challenges, arguments, issues that are bigger than just figuring it out in a one-day span. It just is. Yeah. But I feel like don't go to bed angry is really a command to acknowledge your love for the other person, your respect for the other person, your respect for your marriage. We're in this together. We're gonna move forward. Right now, I'm still working through a lot, and they even have studies shown that like sleep actually helps you to process better. Sometimes you need that sleep to wake up and be like, yeah, I was kind of a jerk, or yeah, I kind of shouldn't have said that, you know?
Look at Jazz coming through with the stats.
I know.
Wow, you surprised me with that one.
Really? Like, they really do say that, but
I need to do some homework.
I cannot, but I really feel like it is important for some things to be processed over time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're not gonna go to bed ignoring each other. You're not gonna go to bed being like, well, you're a da 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 da, and I'm going to bed. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
You acknowledge the mutual respect and love that you have for each other. You communicate and you say, hey, I'm still processing and I need time. I'm not ignoring you. And that is what it means to not go to bed angry.
That reminds me of, and this is something that I had to learn this year, and I'm going through the process of learning. It reminds me of the concept of, you can forgive someone on the spot, right? But it doesn't mean that it's going to completely go away on the spot.
Yes.
Something that you said earlier this year that was super, I mean, it was very, very just important to me, and just important in general, is sometimes like forgiveness is an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Like where you have to each day forgive off of one thing that may have been done. So I think even in this situation as well, sometimes you're going to have a heated conversation, right? But instead of going to bed angry, or instead of going to bed like just sweeping it under the rug, you say, hey, like, okay, this is how I'm feeling. This is how you're feeling. Okay, I love you. We'll continue to process it and continue to work through it throughout the week and go from there.
Yeah, and Reggie is a champ at this. Like, I just have to brag on him because he's always the first one to be like, babe, I love you, and we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna continue to talk about it. And he's just so loving in that way, and I'm so grateful for that, because there are some parts of me sometimes where I'm really stubborn, and I'm like,
it's not easy.
You know, no, I'm not gonna talk to him. You know, but I feel like he's really good at that, and I'm grateful for that. So that's kind of how we operate. We choose to communicate and let each other know, like put a timestamp on it. Hey, tomorrow at 3, or tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning, whatever works for you, we're gonna talk, but I'm still processing, but I love you. Like that, the whole theme, I feel like, of these last 3 bad marriage advices? Yeah, whatever. 3 bad marriage things that people have said to us is the fact that there's a lack and a breakdown of communication. When you choose to communicate, it's a lot healthier. Really, communication solves a lot of problems, but that's a different video for a different day. Okay, next one. You have to go with how you feel. Meaning like with loving your spouse or being committed to them. Or just like go with how you feel. You know what I mean?
That is one of the biggest lies. Yeah. Just in life in general. Right? Like everything now is about go with how you feel, go with
the vibes, the energy.
Yeah, but it's like, yo, what about when in that relationship you hate that person and you don't want to be with that person? That's real life. Yes. Like that's a real life feeling. So just because you feel that way, you're going to act on that. That's not how it works. Relationships and marriage is not built on just straight feelings or how you feel at the moment. Right. There's going to be moments where you feel completely in love with that person, and that's the person you just want to be cuddled up next to them. And then there's going to be another moment where you don't even want to be near that person. Like you want to be in a completely different room. You ain't really rocking with that person at that moment. And what are you going to do? You just going to follow that up and down roller coaster of the feelings? It doesn't work that way. I think like with what we've learned in our relationship and in our marriage is that even when you don't feel like loving that person, you're still called to love that person. Yes. Even when you don't feel like it. Yes. So it's a calling. Like marriage is more of a calling than just a feeling. Like, oh, I feel like I love that person or I should be with that person. If your relationship is built on that, then you don't have a solid foundation. Right. That's so true, because feelings are fleeting. For example, just to give you guys an analogy. Like, do you feel like going to work every day? No. But I bet your bottom dollar that you're going to show up to work even when you don't feel like it. Yeah. Why? Because you're sure as heck going to get that check. Hello, you need to live. Yeah. And I feel like we pick and choose what type of mindset we have with different things, but the same mindset should be applied to our marriage. We need to show up every day, not because I feel like it or I want to. No, it's because I have to, and I committed under God, if you are a Christian, to be committed to this person and show up for them. And so I feel like it's super important to understand that your feelings are fleeting. You don't always feel like doing stuff, but you need to put your big girl and boy pants on
and let's freaking do this. Like, we chose to do a big girl and boy commitment of getting married. Well, we need to show up every day.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of, especially the people of God, not choosing to show up in their marriages. Don't mishear me, because there are certain circumstances where it is warranted. Unfortunately, divorce happens and whatever. But I am talking about simply, I'm not vibing. That's not an option. Like, it's not. As a mature son or daughter in Christ, we are called to be committed to the things that we have committed to and what God cares about. And God cares a lot about marriage.
Yeah, yeah.
So we just have to show up and be better about that.
Yeah.
But anyways, let me...
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that example and what you kind of share was super important to understand. And this is mainly about marriage, but also just relationships in general. You know, even when we think about our relationship with Christ, we don't always feel like He's present.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that He's not present.
Yes.
Right. And it's just like one of my favorite analogies, like the wind, the air that's outside. We don't always feel the wind or the air, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. So that just goes to show that life is not all about how you feel at the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not.
With anything.
If we base it off of that, I mean, we would be in a world of trouble.
Right.
And a lot of marriages and relationships fail because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's about humbling yourself and stepping outside of yourself and not being so selfish.
Yeah.
Because it's not all about you and your feelings. Sorry.
Look, I mean, the celebrity relationships we be seeing out there, why y'all think people be getting married 4 or 5 times? You feel me? 3, 4, 5 times.
Literally.
Not judging nobody. Nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect. But it's really because it's a lot of relationships, unfortunately, are built off of feelings.
Exactly. And that's just not a thriving, healthy, Christ-centered, true relationship. So, anyways.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, last one, guys. We're moving right along. Okay, last one is make sure you have your own stuff so you're never stuck. Meaning like career, money, bank account, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to touch on this? You want me to touch on this?
I can start it off and you can finish it off.
Guys, my hair is so long.
You've been cooking today. With this piece of advice, man, this is another one where I understand the intentions behind it. And I think a lot of people are preaching this right now because a lot of people are getting hurt.
Right.
And out here looking crazy.
Right.
Right. Yes. So, I mean, just the other day, like I saw 1 or 2 like celebrity situations, relationships where one of them got put out and they didn't really have, because they was living with the other person and they ain't really have nothing to their name really. I mean, they was looking sick. Yeah. So I understand like why a lot of people try to preach that. I understand the intentions, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. It's just like what we just said with the last point and piece of advice. It's not always about how you feel. I think in a marriage, especially, when you're committing, you're taking 2 individuals and you're becoming one. And that's across the board. You don't really get to pick and choose like what you, I want to keep this over here, but we can share this. Or I want to keep this over here, but we can share this. Yeah. When you're in a relationship and when you're in a marriage, like you're committing to becoming one and sharing, and we're all going to get hurt at some point in time. Right. So we can't, just because that's going to happen, it doesn't mean that we can just bypass the notion that, hey, like I shouldn't have to share. I should have all my own stuff over here and you have all your own stuff over here. Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, especially, I can only speak for the Black community because I'm a Black woman. So I know in the Black community, like a lot of times, especially when it comes to women, because unfortunately, like a lot of single motherhood happens and all that stuff. But I feel like it can be preached to us as Black women, like make sure you have your own just in case. And while I think it's super important for you to have your own individual things in your marriage and your relationship, meaning ideas, thoughts, pursuits, career, whatever, I do believe, like you were saying, that there's a lot of power in
serving each other as one and becoming one and having your stuff as one, and not feeling like you need a backup plan, a plan B, like let me just have all my ducks in a row so I can skate. No, it should be, let me have all my ducks in a row so that I'm pursuing things that fulfill me, but also that it sets up our marriage and our family for the best in the future. And I know you were talking a lot about like how men tend to be like, oh, make sure you have a plan B or whatever. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more too?
First, like, and also like with all of this, like, let's just be clear. This doesn't mean that if you're in a relationship and you got one who is just not giving any effort, not bringing anything to the table at all, that you just continue to feed that person. That's not, that's really wrong. You feel me? Like, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're advocating for. That's not it at all. But as far as the point with men or just people in general, I think like especially our generation, a lot of times we're coming into relationships feeling like we need a plan B, already thinking about plan B. Why? Because we see so much relationships and marriages failing over and over and over again. You feel me? I'm a product of coming from a single family home. You feel me? And my parents, they were married for a certain amount of years and they ended up divorcing, and that affected me. Like that affected me, and if I allowed it to affect me to the point where I was like, you know what, just in case, like I need to have a backup plan. I can have Jasmine, but at the same time, like I'm also thinking if it doesn't work out, which most likely it probably won't, I'll have this on the side, I'll have this set up, boom, boom, boom. And that's not the way to go, because as long as you have that backup plan and that plan B and you're already thinking about an exit strategy, I mean, you're not going to have a solid foundation, and most likely that's what's going to happen. Yeah,
for sure. And I feel like the main summary over all of these things when it comes to the bad marriage advice, people give bad marriage advice because they're speaking from their own experiences or what they've been taught. So it's not any fault of their own, but I'm a firm believer in making sure that you learn for yourself, meaning if you're a Christian, that you spend time in the Word, in prayer, and being Spirit-led in how you make decisions and how you move. And that's how we choose to do things. And so the biggest thing is in our relationship and how we combat falling into this bad marriage advice is communication. It's really, really huge. And then also I think just being open with each other with our flaws, with our victories, just being open and transparent in that. But I think also walking in humility, serving each other, understanding that it's not about us, but it's about each other, and most importantly, it's about our relationship with God. So when you operate in all of those things, you can really, and most importantly, just be Spirit-led, you can really avoid the hiccups and the bumps of running into operating from bad marriage advice that you've got.
And when she shared being open, I think also a key point to all of this as well is making sure that you have the right mentors around you.
Wise
and
counsel.
You're seeking wisdom. Because wisdom and having the right mentors can help you avoid a lot of terrible mistakes. Jasmine and I, we're only a few months into marriage. We've been together for coming up on 8 years, but we're only a few months in on marriage. And we don't have wisdom, or we're not speaking on these things because we've been married for 30 years. We're able to speak on a lot of different things because we have the wisdom around us. And we're open to learning from the mistakes that we've witnessed around us, and also witnessing, you know, the right decisions around us, you know, from other mentors and other marriages. So I think that's super, super key for avoiding this bad advice and taking the bad advice and allowing it to permeate your relationship.
So comment down below letting us know if you found this advice helpful. If you have your own, if you're married and you have your own bad marriage advice that you've gotten and how you're kind of combating that, comment that down below. But we're so grateful for you guys spending time with us, and we just love talking about things that matter, and so we're grateful that we get to do that with you. But don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, you know the deal.
Jasmine is almost at 1,000 subscribers. Y'all are running it up. And I'm
it's crazy.
Even though it's not my channel, it's Jasmine's channel. I'm super appreciative for all the subscribers, but continue to run it up for sure.
We love Reginalde, but we love you guys so much. We're so grateful for you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.